and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Addicted to Angling. It's the week between Christmas and New Year's, and rather than sit at home and eat my body weight in chocolate and drink copious amounts of whiskey, decided to come out onto the bank. It's a cold, wet December's day. It's fairly windy, southwesterly blowing, so it's not too cold. That's the main bonus. It is quite mild. Now, could have gone to a few lakes. We've decided to come to Suffolk Water Park. Now, the lake we're fishing is M1. M1 is a match lake on Suffolk Water Park, but this is not like an ordinary match lake. Recently, carp anglers have started fishing it because the carp in here, they've grown up. There's a 27 pounder in it. You know, for a match lake, a 27 pounder, and there is over, well, I don't know how many carp there is in it, but there's a lot of carp, a lot of 20s. It's not a bad little lake at all. Don't get me wrong, I'll show you in a little while. It's not like a totally feature-filled lake. It is like a bowl, but you get the carp feed and you can get good hits. It is a runs water, and that is what we wanted. You know, I wanted to come, I wanted to get some fish on the bank. I've remembered my tripod this time. Last time I came here, it was totally frozen over in the minuses. I had a carp out of the lake next door, which is the traditional lake, but like I say, Tony's in the swim next door. We've decided to come here and just see if we can get some fish on the bank, because you can get some quite good hits of carp in here. Now, as it's wet, as it's windy, you might be able to hear the rain hitting the top of the bivvy. I've got my overwrap on, so I'm nice and snug in here. I've got two rods out, both fishing pop-ups. One, I've got a Parker Baits pink OG fish pop-up, but I've had that glugged in OG fish sauce for around about a month. So it's absorbed some of the sauce. It is still buoyant, but there's going to be a lot of flavours coming off that. On the other rod, I've got an OG fruit and nut match the hatch pop-up. Now, both fishing on spinner rigs, both fishing on an area around the size of a snooker table, and it's not too far out at all. But I've made up a spawn mix. I'll show you the spawn mix in a little while, and all I'm doing is I've dropped 6 spawns over the top of this area. I've got maggots in there, I've got corn in there, I've got crumb, I've got boilies, I've got sauce, and on top of that I'm just putting a little bit of the Parker Baits flat spot, and I've just spawned, like I say, 6 over the top, and I'm now just sitting back waiting for the carp to find it, waiting for him to feed. Like I say, I've got the maggots. The maggots are always a big advantage in the winter. Go through that in a little while. But let's see if we can get some fish on the bank for you. I'd love to get some fish on the bank, because I haven't been able to do a video recently where I've had fish on the bank. I've either had fish and not had my tripod, and I've just had a complete cluster trying to get film, because I've had to stand boxes on end and bags, and it just looks totally crap. Or I've bought the tripod and I've had blanks. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Enjoy the video, and let's see if some carp come onto the bank. That is the view from my bivvy at the minute. Like I say, it's blowing southwesterly, not too much of a cold wind, but it's minging out there, absolutely minging. 2 rods, sort of just out there, that sort of area. Both baits on the same area. But this rain is absolutely nasty. But I suppose it's better than being icy. Actually get out. If it was an ice top lake at the minute, obviously no one would be fishing. This time of year you expect it, but there's been a lot of fish shown. A lot of fish shown. Seen some lovely sized fish actually boshing out in the middle of the lake. Temptation is to start banging them out to the middle of the lake. Problem with that is you've got a lot of swims here close to each other, which I'll show you in a little while. Obviously when it starts raining, I'll take you on a little wander around the lake, and if people do turn up and start casting out there, you may well be in other people's zones. So I'm just fishing fairly close in my little area, get the fish on there, try and get a little spot rocking with a few fish, try and get some fish out. If no one turns up later, I may go out further overnight and see what happens. But I've also seen fish literally 7-8 feet out. There's a tree to my right hand side which you'll see hanging over. There's been tails coming out under there. The fish jumped to the left hand side of me in front of the rushes, but they're all over the place. You know, there's no specific area at the minute where you can pinpoint these fish. They're close in, they're far out. There are so many fish in here that you're gonna be on top of them. It's just a case of actually finding them. Now, where my bait is, I keep seeing flat patches come up as well, which is the flat spot oil I'm putting in my spod mix. Every time I put a spot out, drizzle a flat spot on top of it, that goes on the bottom. It's a good visual indication, because when the fish start feeding, it's a fruit and not oil. Obviously they root around, the oil disperses off the bottom, it then creates a flat spot on the top, so you can see when the fish are feeding on your spot, which I've seen quite a bit, but the rods obviously haven't gone yet. We've got 24 hours. We turned up at 9 o'clock this morning. Took a bit of a while to set up because of the wet weather. It's now roughly around about 11:30, so rods have been out probably about an hour to an hour and a little bit over. Plenty of time, here till midday tomorrow, so there's plenty of time to get a fish on the bank. We'll go and see Tony in a little while as well, have a little chat with him, see how he's getting on, and see if we can winkle out a carp in here. There's commons in here, there's mirrors in here. Like I say, I think the biggest in here is £27 mirror. There's big perch in here as well, but obviously we're not perch fishing today. Roach, dreaded bream, so more than likely we'll get something take the bait. We'll see, we'll see. But we'll come back in a little while, and I'll give you a little sit rep as to where we are. But I thought I'd give you a little sit rep. So far I've had a bream. Don't get me wrong, it was quite a big bream. Probably looking around at the £7 to £8 mark, but put it back. Don't want that on camera. No one wants to see a bream, really, do they? But the weather outside, you can probably hear it on top of the bivvy. It's absolutely gnarly. Wind's probably gusting up 30 mile an hour, still sitting southwesterly. I've had a few bleeps, one missed run as well on the left hand rod. Tony's not had any runs yet. Lad on the other side of the lake had a carp. But you know, don't get me wrong, it's perfect weather. It is absolutely spot on weather for carp. But it's pretty gnarly. I'm glad I bought my over wrap for my new bivvy. This is keeping me nice and toasty in here. Just made myself a cuppa, got some bourbons to crack on with as well. Put another 4 spoms over the spot. Keep trickling it in. The fish are there. I keep seeing the flat spots on top of the water where the fish are feeding. Like I say, I've had a bream as well. I know the rigs are working. I know they're set up correctly. It's just a case of waiting for the carp to come. Like I say, it's a high stocked water, this M1 match lake. But you've also got a lot of roach, a lot of bream, a lot of tench, etc, etc in here. So they will be clearing the spots as well as the carp. With the addition of the maggots, the silvers will be feeding. Hopefully that activity, bloody hell, hopefully that activity will obviously attract the carp as well. Who knows? I mean, we've still got a long time. I think it's only about 3:30. Like I say, we're here till midday tomorrow, so plenty of time to get some scaly ones on the bank. Oh, it's just nice to be out after Christmas as well. You know, Christmas is now finished with. A couple of days after Christmas. Hope you all got some lovely carpy presents for Christmas. Be honest with you, I didn't get anything carpy for Christmas at all. Well, I say at all. Got a new pillow for the bed chair, which the missus had made up for me. A couple of other little bits, but I've got all the tackle I need now, so there's no point asking for stuff for Christmas. Just hopefully these fish will turn up, and hopefully this weather sort of calms down. I don't think it's meant to though. I think it's meant to be like this all night. So if we get a run in the night, it's going to be carnage. It's going to be wet. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. But I've got the light on top of the camera. I've got some wet weathery gear in there as well, so I'll be sticking that on soon. Oh, what a day, eh? What a day! But there's nothing like it. I love sitting on the bank. I love fishing for any species when the weather's like this. As long as you're sort of dry and comfortable, there's nothing like it. I just keep looking out. I've seen a lot of fish boshing in the middle of the lake. Keep getting tempted to whack a stick on my rig, smack it into the middle of the lake. But then the back of my head, I just keep getting that little thought. I've got the baited spot. Don't move from the baited spot. You know, as much as I want to, and they are showing fish, I always think to myself, if I put a layer of bait out, the fish will be in there, the fish will be feeding. Sooner or later, the fish will find my rig. And the worst thing you can do, you know, whack it out to find some fish. Don't get one out there and the fish have cleared your spot. And at that point, you know, where you've cast out, you would have had a bite from the baited spot. That's just my way of thinking. I know a lot of people will cast to show and fish, and I know it is the in thing, but that's just the way I fish. I like to sit, I like to be patient, I like to wait for them fish to come through. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy my cup of tea. I'm going to get stuck into the bourbons. I'm going to watch some YouTube, and hopefully I'll come back with a fish for you in a little while. Right, it's now getting dark. It's probably around about 3:30. It gets dark now about 4:15 in the evening. I'm just going to give you a quick look at my spod mix. Put another 3 spoms over the rods. I've changed it around a little bit now. I've got one rod out in the middle. I'm literally where I've sensed a couple of fish sort of moving around to my right hand side for the night. Spooned a couple of load of my spod mix underneath a tree and just flicked a pop up underneath there just to see if I could pick one out during the night. But this is my spod mix. I don't know if you can see that. In there you've got crumb, fruit and nut, you've got whole 14mm fruit and nut boilies, whole 14mm OG fish, about half pint of, well, about a pint of maggot, sorry, and a load of sweet corn. OG fish and OG fruit and nut sauce in there as well. And every time I put a spom out, I'm spooning a load of Parker baits, flat spot on top, soaking it in, flicking it out. I've probably got about nearly a kilo's worth of spod mix over that outside spot now, because like I say, it's a heavily stocked lake. The fish will move through. You've got loads of different species and it will be cruising through that and eating it, and that will be gone fairly quickly, even though it's winter. But even though it's winter, it's not super cold, you know, it is still quite mild. Right, like I say, it's getting dark anyway, so right hand rod underneath a tree, see if that produces. One rod out on the baited spot in the middle. Come on the carp, let's see if something comes along and takes a bait. Must have spilled some spod mix while I was filling up my spom, and I've now got a goose in my swim, ransacking all the leftover freebies that I've left. He's alright though, seems quite friendly. Doesn't seem like an Asbo goose like you get on some lakes. No hissing or anything like that. He's just, look at him, bless his little heart. But to be honest with you, that's the most activity I've had in my swim now for a couple of hours. So we'll see what happens. Like I say, the rods are out, it's getting dark. I've put the last little bit of bait out, changed over my hook baits, 2 new pop-ups on, flicked them out. Let's see what happens, but I've got a good feeling about underneath that tree there. I don't know why, but I really think that's going to produce tonight. I really do. Like I say, spooned a couple of spoons of spod mix over it. Just got a feeling that's going to go, but if it does, we'll see. I'll let you know, like, obviously when I come back through the night. If I come back through the night, it'll be with a fish. If I don't come back through the night, obviously it means I haven't caught anything. So fingers crossed we get one. Right, welcome back. 2 o'clock in the morning, left hand rod's ripped off, and there we have it. Nice little mirror carp, not massive by all means, but a fish is a fish, and I knew they were there. I've been getting liners and this one came along, hey? Like I say, gave me a bit of a run around, wiped out my other rod as well, but can't complain at all. It is nice to get off the mark. Middle of December, or end of December, sorry, going into January, and they're on the feed. Calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. Still a lot of fight left in it, but like I say, it wiped out the other rod. This has given me a merry dance for a little fish. Straight under the tree, through the other rod, completely wiped that out. Spun around with the line. Obviously I had to spend about 20 minutes trying to untangle it. Managed to get it sorted. Rods are back out on the spot. Taken on an OG fruit and nut, match the hatch pop up. Decided to start putting sticks on and spomming out. I thought, you know, I'll try a little bit of a stick mix. It's worked. Off the mark. Lovely job. Now let's see if we can get some more. Morning. Well, it's now roughly around about 8 o'clock. No more fish last night for me whatsoever. Had the one fish at about 2 o'clock in the morning, which you would have just seen, and after that the wind, the weather last night, that became atrocious at one point. I think it showed on the weather report I was looking at, gusting up to over 40 mile an hour, average speeds between 25 and 30, so it's sitting at a constant speed of that. That was absolutely savage. It really was. No more fish, like I say. Didn't get a very good night's sleep. Probably why I look a little bit bleary eyed, to be honest with you. Probably had about 2 hours sleep all night. Just kept sitting there playing on my phone, listening to the wind, because every time I tried to get some sleep it sounded like an express train coming through the trees behind me. But woken up this morning from what yesterday was only me, Tony and a few others down the other end of the lake. It's suddenly become rammed. I'm talking nearly every swim on this lake is now taken. Going to be a lot of pressure today on the water, a lot of pressure. Could mean the fish all go out into the middle of the lake. We haven't got that long left, don't get me wrong. I've just rebaited and flicked out 2 little sticks on each rod, flicked them out fairly close in, just seeing, you know, if I can nick a bite in the last few hours before we go home. Now the fish last night, obviously like I say, it came on Parker Baits OG fruit and nut pop-ups, 15 millers, match the hatch, don't know if you can see that, probably can't, speckled fruit and nut boilies, absolutely delicious smelling boilies. As I've said previously in the past, Parker Baits, if you want to make an order from them and your first order, 10% off, absolute steal. You can use the code A2A, that is A number 2A, at the checkout, and you'll get 10% off your first order. Give them a go, absolutely stonking bait, really is. Like I say, last little bit now. I mean, I think Tony's making his breakfast. He's not had a fish, bless him, despite trying. He's been trying hard, he's been doing nothing wrong. It's just one of them things. Like I say, it's December. You know, it's nearly January. I think it's now December. I keep losing track of the time now. It's the grey week, isn't it, between Christmas and New Year. It's the Thursday, so I think, what's that, 29th, is it? Yeah, 29th. So it is the winter. You know, it has been cold, but there has been also been a lot of cold water going into the lakes as well, because the rain we had yesterday, you know. Put a fair bit of water in there, I reckon. It was pretty heavy at some points. So, you know, nick a fish this time of year, I'm happy with that. I am happy with that. It is a runs water, like I was saying, you can get some good hits on here, but any fish out of any water at this time of year, when they're docile, when they're cold, I'm happy. I'm happy as a pig in poo, as they say. But right, I'll give you a little look at the lake in a minute, because I haven't done that yet, because yesterday the weather was so bad I didn't want to take the camera out. But yeah, I'm going to just sort of sit back, kick back, maybe start packing up slowly, getting rid of bits I don't need in here, and I'll see you in a little while. Now this is what I couldn't show you yesterday. This is M1, and as you can see, all the way around today, considering yesterday it was pretty sparse, it's absolutely ramo today. It really is. Now this is my swim. This is peg 36. Nighttime swims, there's only a handful of nighttime swims on here. I think there's about 5 or 6. You got my swim, Tony's swim, and then over the far bank I believe you have another 3 or 4 over there. The rest of these are platform match swims. But if you look at the lake, I mean, it is an absolutely stunning lake. It really is. Not too big. I don't know about hectares, I'm not going to go into that, but it is well stocked. And I've just been chatting to some locals, and I didn't realise, well, I am local anyway, but people who fish it all the time, the actual bottom of the lake is set out like a Mexican sombrero. So it goes shallow, then it drops off fairly deep, and then in the middle it plateaus up. So you've got a nice plateau in the middle, which is probably why all the fish were topping over that yesterday. But look at that, eh? And the weather today compared to yesterday is absolutely fantastic. This was an absolute stormy, rubbishy nightmare yesterday, which is probably why a lot of people have picked today to come out here. But there we go, yeah. So, beautiful little lake, Suffolk Water Park. 24 hours on here is 20 quid. If you fancy coming here, ring the office. You'll find the number on the internet. Just type in Suffolk Water Park and you can book up a swim. You're better off, I don't think you have to book up on this one, but if you want to fish nighttime, you're always better off doing it just to make sure you can get one of the nighttime pegs that are on it. Anyway, right, a little while left. Let's see if these bad boys can produce a fish for me. You never know. Right, with the fish showing in the middle of the lake, stuck a boilie out to them, pop up straight on them. This one ripped off, nice little fish, not big by any standards. Rod's back out, only a little while left now, so let's see if we can get some more.
Got there to the end.
Well, I had enough time to think of it. Right, that's it, end of the session. It's now getting on for 11 o'clock in the morning. We could have stayed till midday, but we got stuff to do, so we decided to pack up early. 2 carp and a bream for me. This time of year, I'm happy with that. You know, the weather hasn't been amazing. It's been, well, in fact, it's been absolutely awful, to be honest with you. Strong winds, heavy rain. It's just one of them things. It's winter fishing for you. But thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. If you've got this far and you haven't yet subscribed, please like and subscribe. It just helps the channel to grow. And yet again, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment if you'd like to, and I'll see you on the bank very soon.